Can the young and undisciplined Wildcats swallow their pride after getting dominated by Oregon and learn to check their emotions in time for the uncivil rivalry against that other school from up north? Well, if a Roadrunner can learn to skate on ice, does that mean there's a chance hockey will succeed in Tucson? And from police brutality to taking a knee to protesting bacon. You heard right, protesting. Yummy, delicious bacon. These stories and more next on the 520. Welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez.
And I'm Artie Mata IV. Thanks for joining us.
What a difference a week makes. Khalil Tate no longer considered a Heisman contender, and Rich Rod no longer being considered Coach of the Year. But before we get started, I just want to point something out. Big elephant in the room, okay? Artie, it's rivalry week, okay? Looks like you just showed up to a gunfight with a squirt gun with an NAU shirt on.
Hey man, vintage, 1982. I mean, shouts out to Matt at Mountain View Sports. Hooked it up, great price.
I'm going to Arizona
had to bite,
all week long. Come on, man.
Definitely.
All right, the Oregon Trail was not cat-friendly. The Wildcats were dominated in their most lopsided loss of the year. The Ducks beat them 48-28. On paper, the Ducks looked subpar. On the football field, they exposed the Cats for being undisciplined and immature. Oregon, used to the spotlight, snatched it away from Khalil Tate, holding the once Heisman candidate to 32 yards on the ground. Tate passed for 159 yards but had 2 interceptions. Overall, if the Cats failed the maturity test, Rich Rod didn't score much better. He threw a tantrum on the sideline, failed to get his players' heads back into the game. Oregon outrushed the Cats 353 yards to 171 yards. Now, again, I love Rich Rod, but the tantrum on the sideline did not help the Cats. I mean, they were out of it.
And it was an exact reflection of from the top of the totem pole all the way down to the totem pole. The kids were losing their minds. The kids were undisciplined. And the head coach was undisciplined, losing his mind. Immature, you said it. Immature from their reads that they were making, from their game plan, the way it unraveled, all the way to their attitude.
And let's be honest, 2 games in a row, actually 2 or 3 games, he just flat out got out coached.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all the way down to Khalil Tate. He's a sophomore respectively, but all the way from his terrible reads to read out. The rule is, if you can see the DN's numbers, you give it. You don't take it, but it seems like they don't know how to tame the beast quite yet. Khalil Tate's got that magic man playmaking ability, and he's, instead of giving the read option, he's taking it, he's doing this. He looks like Johnny Castle out there doing all this, and then instead of that, he gets minus 10 yards here, minus 2 yards here at the very least. It's setting him up for 3rd and long, nothing but bad things, all because he can't give the right read.
I'm far from being an expert. I'm far from being a coach, but I can see the way to keep those DBs from coming up and stopping Khalil Tate. Pass to the sideline, quick pass, like the Cats used to do, and then set it up for over the top. Definitely. I mean, come on, man.
And what it looks like, too, is they're trying so hard to force Khalil Tate, whether they're trying to get him his stats, whether they're trying to do this, whether they're trying to do that. They're forcing the issue instead of letting it unravel, instead of letting the kid do his thing ultimately.
So how does Khalil Tate become Khalil Tate again?
For starters, he's got to make the good reads.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he spends too much time out of the pocket rather than in the pocket, because ultimately the route combos that they are calling are working. There are some guys open downfield, but instead the pocket collapsed. He's breaking out. He wants to take off instead of trusting what the coaches are giving him. Bad stuff from all the way from the top to bottom.
Apparently everyone's watching tape on him. So, I mean, was this kind of luck?
No,
the games that he's gained over 1,200 yards in?
Good football exposes bad football, and that's exactly what it was from the defense, getting just completely embarrassed on the pulling guards. These inside-outside linebackers were stretching out these plays to 5-10 yards at a time. I mean, it's everything. It was just undisciplined football.
And immature.
Exactly.
All right, well, from undisciplined to uncivil, for those who grew up in Arizona, the Arizona-ASU rivalry is a rite of passage. Wildcat fans learn to hate the Sun Devils. Sun Devil fans learn to hate the Wildcats. This game is more than just a battle for bragging rights and the Territorial Cup. This rivalry can make or break a season. Throw out the record. This game is our Super Bowl. It has produced countless memorable games, including perhaps the greatest play in Wildcat football history. Check this out. 1986, ASU about to score. U of A safety Chuck Cecil intercepted the ball deep in the end zone. And there he's off to the races. 106 yards for a touchdown, giving ASU its only loss of the year. Cats went on to win 34-17 for their 5th straight win over the Sun Devils at the time, taking away the Sun Devils' chance to play for a national title. Now, the Sun Devils went on to play Michigan and won the Rose Bowl that year, but guess what? It was sweet victory for us Wildcat fans to keep ASU out of the national championship. That's the way we roll in Tucson.
And that's what it looks like, even all the way down to last year. I mean, they beat them by 3-4 possessions without even attempting a pass in the 4th quarter. I mean, definitely my take is with Arizona this week.
Okay, so we've seen big thighs run against Arizona's defense, all right? Arizona's defense is not going to get done good against USC. They have not done good against Oregon. Now we have ASU averaging about 159 yards per game, give or take a few. Now, the last couple of games, they've been averaging over 300 yards. How do you see that play out against Arizona? And do you think Rich Rod, finally, 3rd time's a charm to come up with a better game plan?
It's not even a game plan. I could tell you flat out, just from watching the game on television, I mean, the D-line, the inside and outside backers, the linebacking core just have flat out bad technique. Instead of, they're catching the blocks, they're waiting for the pulling guards to get them instead of attacking them, anchoring their foot down, keeping an outside arm free, shedding the block, misdirecting here or there. They're just getting embarrassed. It's pathetic. And is that the coaching staff? Is that the kids not listening? Is that just bad recruiting in general? We're about to find out here. Well,
all right, really quick though, Arizona has 3 defensive linemen who are probably going to be out, who were injured against Oregon. How does that bode for Arizona's defense against ASU?
Well, and that definitely showed against Oregon too, because I mean, there's a gap that's getting kicked out because of the pulling guard, so they bring a safety up, and then Mr. Herbert's making some NFL throws over the top. So it's definitely a puzzle piece. But at the end of the day, what you have to do is you have to be disciplined on the outsides with your man coverage. You have to stay away from zone coverage, because ultimately what that does is that sets up your blitzes. It does this with the man coverage. So let's see how the game plan unravels against them this week.
All right, let's go ahead and show you. This game is Saturday, a kickoff, Arizona at Arizona State, Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Game will be shown on the Pac-12 network. Make sure you tune in, because this is going to be a dandy. Another great rivalry game between Arizona and ASU. All right, Artie, you want to talk high school football, so take it away.
Of course I do. And Tucson will not be shut out of the high school championships tripleheader that'll be played at Arizona Stadium December 2nd. South Point Catholic made sure of that, beating top seed Peoria Sunrise Mountain 49-27 to advance to the 4A state title. And here we go. If you haven't heard of him yet, you will hear of him. Number 5, Bijan Robinson.
Arizona, recruit him now.
Exactly. But that's the thing, is he might be better than Arizona. He might be looking Big 12. He might be looking Big 10. And of course, the big stat is that the 2 hot shots, Bijan Robinson and Mario Padilla, they're combined for 26 total yards, and neither of them have played an entire season. Bijan Robinson averaging 11.6 yards a carry. And even in 1988, with Barry Sanders' big giant Heisman run, he averaged 7.4 yards a carry.
Of course, we want to go for the local team. Okay?
Of course.
South Point Catholic. But they have a big mountain to climb against Scottsdale Saguaro, who has won 3 of the last 4 high school 4A championships.
And definitely, with the playmaking alone, they can make this thing happen. Mario Padilla is a fantastic sideline route runner. As you saw right there, making that nice catch in the end zone, he gets great release on these 2 little move routes. But what it's going to come down to is if the defense can show up, because all those highlights we're playing, I didn't bring up the defense. Scottsdale Saguaro makes a run for it every single year. How can the defense attack the offense is what's going to come down to the outcome.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the game for South Point Catholic. That game is going to be in Tucson at Arizona Football Stadium against Scottsdale Saguaro. That game is at noon at Arizona Stadium. Moving on to Push Ridge. Go for it.
And Push Ridge, I always like to call them the best team no one's heard of. I mean, they won the state title 2 years ago. They made a run for it last year. They have this prehistoric offensive scheme that the offensive coordinator likes to call. We're talking 1933 Bronco Nagurski Red Grange, and Mr. Fetsis, number 10, the quarterback, does an amazing job of commanding. He's an amazing field general. The composure So Mr. Fetsis led the conference in rushing. So he's looking to be one of the biggest playmakers against it. I think Push Ridge does a better job in the 3A than South Point does in the 4A. I'm taking Push Ridge over Castillo.
Really?
Of course.
Well, that game is this Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday.
In Gilbert. Again, Castile. And there you go. The Colts take it on Push Ridge Christian Academy, 6:30 p.m. on Saturday for the 3A state championship. And it's that little school right along, you know, on North Oracle Road.
That's right. Nobody's ever heard of them, and they're over here popping state title after state title.
Well, going to see little Johnny play under the Friday night lights has taken some of the spotlight away from the Roadrunners. Tucson's minor league hockey team is averaging just over 4,100 fans through the first 13 home games at the Tucson Convention Center. That means the Roadrunners have gained 54 new fans compared to last year's average. And dropping by the studio to talk a little hockey is Walt Ruff, marketing and PR guru for the Roadrunners. And let's just be honest here. You're talking to a couple of native Tucsonans where when we're talking about skating on thin ice, we're talking about maybe getting fired or something like that. We don't know much about hockey, so tell us how you're going to be able to get some fans into the arena.
Well, the beauty of it is hockey is one of those sports where once you come out, it's rare to find that person that comes to their first game and they don't enjoy it. The more you learn about it, we find that the more people are attracted to it. It's a first-hand experience type of thing. So we encourage everyone to come out. We know there are a lot of folks in this great community that haven't been to a game yet. Come on out. We'll show you a good time.
Okay, so Artie's wearing the NAU sweatshirt.
Yeah, and they got the little...
Pretending that, you know, he knows a little bit something about being in the cold. How do you convince him, though?
Well, especially at this time of year, you know, we know we're competing a little bit with high school football and the University of Arizona, which are both great things for this community. But it's strategic, right? You know, we're starting to roll out some of our home runs on the promo schedule. We've got a lot of $2 beer, $1 food nights coming out. We've got a t-shirt giveaway this weekend. So you're going to start to see in the promotional schedule, not only you're coming out to see a game, but also a lot of cool things with it.
All right, already has something to say,
definitely,
right?
I mean, so are you guys just selling the entertainment value of hockey? And I mean, the rules, the nuances, the this, the that. I mean, there's not even a high school hockey league per se. How do you sell the long-term fans on hockey?
Well, I think we have a lot of plans as an organization for the future of which we want to do. We know we need to get a lot of folks involved from youth all the way up. We do have a great junior Roadrunners program, which we're very happy to be a part of for the second year. And I think eventually long-term, if we're able to execute the things we want to, you will see hockey grow within this community.
Has there ever been any consideration behind the scenes talking about opening up the ice rink to locals so that locals can go over there and skate? Because I remember as a kid growing up, in the summer, we would escape to the TCC and get out of the heat, and they would open up the rink, you know, after a Disney on Ice show or something, and we just tried to learn to skate. We weren't really good at it, but at least we tried, and it turned us on a little bit to the game. You see something like that happening?
Well, I think we certainly can. We've got a phenomenal staff that we're working with over at the TCC, and you hit the nail on the head, though. There's a lot of events. Last year was our first year. We kind of got thrown into the flames right away, and then there's all these events as well with Disney on Ice, and, you know, they take the ice out when we're on the road sometimes. So it's all a matter of finding that availability within the schedule, but I think you will eventually see that happen.
Yeah. And does the Tucson Roadrunner organization have a short-term goal as far as ticket sales, as far as fans coming to the game? Do you guys have a short-term goal for this year?
Well, I think we have a number in mind, but what we'd really like to achieve is, you know, we're right around the corner from our first sellout of the season, which will be great. We've got a great record. We're currently first place in the division, first place in the Western Conference, so I'd encourage everyone to come out and see the Arizona Coyotes of the future, and everybody wants to be part of a winning culture, right? So if we're able to put that on the ice, then we think some more fans will start coming in as well.
Great. That's good to hear. And let's go ahead and show you the upcoming game for the Roadrunners. Who do you play on Friday and Saturday, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we've got the Stockton Heat in town for the first time this season. It's going to be a battle of number 1 versus 2 in the division. All
right. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it, Walt. We'll be seeing a lot more of the Roadrunners this season and hope to talk to you soon. All right, news that a judge sentenced former Arizona football player Orlando Smith to 5 years in prison may have exposed what's really happening behind the scenes. More on that in a second, but first, Smith pleaded guilty in September to 2 felony charges, including aggravated assault and domestic violence. The former running back admittedly abused 2 women. One of Smith's victims is now suing the U of A. Here's where it gets dicey for the university. Smith's prison sentence comes on the heels of an Arizona Daily Star report that shows the U of A is failing on its commitment to teach its athletes and coaches about sexual assault and domestic violence. Caitlin Schmidt's report details several big-time incidents the athletic department tried to keep on the down low, now including a rape investigation in 2015 involving a now former basketball player and a lawsuit filed by former track athlete Bailey Gibson. She's suing former assistant track coach Craig Carter for assaulting her with a deadly weapon. Legal fees for this case alone have already amounted to nearly $700,000 as of September 31st, according to the Arizona Daily Star. This does not look good for the athletic program. Things that we've been talking about for months now.
Definitely, and it's just like we had brought up in our private conversations, scandal after scandal, this after that. I mean, when is it going to end for the university? When is the university as a whole just going to take accountability for their failed implementations?
You know, we've talked so much about Arizona just keeping a tight lip on everything. And it's these investigations are coming out more and more, including the KVOA investigation by Matthew Swartz. He filed a Freedom of Information Act request to get documents in October. He didn't get them till November. So it goes to show a culture. It's not just something that's happening behind the scenes. It's a culture that is just really, really bad, I think, at the University of Arizona.
Maybe something they're not used to either.
All right. I'm sure this topic is going to be coming up a lot more. And of course, you can count on us to stay on top of this topic because, again, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. All right, let's jump right into Do We Care? After all, we're not just a sports show. We break down community issues, big and small, like this one. Pigs have families! Well, hundreds showed up to pig out on bacon at the 5th Annual Bacon Fest. Animal rights activists also showed up to protest, carrying banners and chanting, as you just heard, pigs have families just like us. Organizers said their aim is to end the barbaric treatment of innocent animals. So, do we care?
Honestly, I mean, do we care about the way that the meat industry is being perceived? No, I don't, because I understand. I mean, my wife herself, she's very intuitive with the agriculture community and industry, and I know for a fact that it's only down here, it's only the bottom 10% to where these pigs are being treated bad per se.
Do we care? Absolutely not. I support human rights and the right to protest. I support animal rights. But protesting at a bacon fest where there's bacon lovers who paid $50 a pop, seriously, to eat everything bacon, including cotton candy bacon, popcorn bacon, and even drink bacon vodka. Seriously, the message is lost. Protest at a slaughterhouse and get the message across to make a difference.
Definitely.
Bacon Fest, out of bounds.
Oh man, and for years, some residents who chose to live along the flight path of the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base have complained about the noise. Well, here's a real sonic boom for you complainers. A new report shows Arizona's 6 military installations and 4 National Guard operations pour in about $11.5 billion into our state's economy each year. Do we care?
Of course we care. Here's why. Tucson and Sierra Vista, southern Arizona towns with Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and Fort Huachuca, would be ghost towns without the military. Right now, the military pours about $750 million into the local and state economies. When it comes to national security, here's why I really, really care. Because I'd rather have bombs over Baghdad than bombs over my head, period.
At the very least to say, and I honestly do care because at the very least this is a fantastic job outlet for the undecided youth, for the undecided adolescent demographic. They're recruiting everywhere, high school level, all the way to at job fairs at the universities. Fantastic job outlet. Let's keep it the way it is.
All right, Representative Martha McSally wants to run for Senate to replace Jeff Flake next year, although a formal announcement hasn't been made yet. So why is McSally being silent about Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore, who faces numerous accusations of sexual harassment, including with female teenagers? This is a no-brainer.
Do we care? Of course we do. I mean, this is right up her alley. You said it perfectly. Mick silent. This is, at the very least, her exact opportunity to take the media by storm and to finally give a statement on this, make some headlines here, and it does nothing but good for her campaign if she says the right stuff.
Bottom line, Martha McSally, she wants to champion women's rights and empower young ladies. She shouldn't even have to be asked a question to be able to speak out on this. My point is McSally is making a mistake for being silent. That's what I say.
Fantastic. And Tucson International Airport plans to launch direct flights from Tucson to Austin starting January 8th. Airlines will fly a 50-seat jet every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. The flight to Austin is being promoted as connecting Tucson to another tech west hub west of the Mississippi. Do we care?
I don't care. I really don't. I'll just leave it at that because I really don't care. I just care more about security going through the international airport. Bottom line is DHS agents went through and tested security, and security failed to detect guns and explosive devices 80% of the time. That's what I care about.
And that's what we should care about, but at the very least we could care about a little bit more dollar signs getting fluctuated into the economy. We could care about that.
All right, some eyebrows were raised in disbelief when Governor Doug Ducey overturned an adoption policy a couple of years ago which banned gays from adopting as a couple. Well, this past week, a PR firm pitched a story on a Tucson transgender couple who will formally be adopting a 2-year-old girl. The same transgender couple has cared for 9 children as foster parents. Do we care?
Of course we care in the context that some people believe that now that being a transgender is almost a disability for the sake that they can't even take care of kids. And I mean, I'm coming from a generation that's you have to formally ask somebody if they have gender pronouns, and this is just, it's about time this is getting talked about, but it's honestly too late for me.
Yeah, but let's be honest. When you first hear it, you kind of like, oh, you know, we all do it. And let's be honest with ourselves about it. But I'm glad this is coming up because at the end of the day, we have to look within to be able to fight our own demons, to get rid of our own discrimination and prejudices. And I really think at the end of the day, it's really about the children. Who cares who they are or what they are? It's about who they are and what's in their heart to be able to provide a good, loving family for children.
Very well said. I couldn't agree more.
And I think this conversation is going to be coming up a lot more because we had a lot of conversations going on, you know, behind the scenes talking about this conversation, and it's an issue that we're obviously going to discuss more in detail. Of course. Well, you've heard the phrase, "Oh no, you didn't." Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with, "Oh yes, we did." So the legal bills keep adding up for Arizona's athletic department. KVOA investigator Matthew Schwartz is reporting U of A is paying 2 law firms up to $600,000 to defend itself against the FBI fraud and bribery scandal. So how is the U of A paying for their mounting legal fees? Turns out, in part, on the backs of students through bookstore fees. Why is this shameful? U of A is already charging students a mandatory $100 athletics fee to spruce up athletic facilities. Add the other lawsuits filed against the athletics department, and the price tag probably goes up close to $500,000 or $1.5 million and more. I say shame on the U of A. Of
course.
Period.
I mean, and there's already such an argument about too high tuition, too high of book fees. You want me to pay more tuition, and when my parking pass is already $500, it's pitiful on their part. Definitely. And oh yes, I did. Last week, an up-and-coming SoundCloud rapper overdosed in Tucson just before he was supposed to perform on stage. A memorial was held to remember 21-year-old Lil Peep in front of The Rock, the local venue where he seems to have spent his final moments. And now this got international media attention in music circles because of his stature, but are we glorifying an addict who OD'd, and are we feeding into this dangerous dark side? And there's definitely 2 sides to the story. I mean, he was definitely a troubled individual. He used drugs to cope with his habits, to sort of hide who he was, if you will. But my take on this is that I just can't stand to see the adolescent demographic of today using this as an excuse for the copious drug habits, the copious party habits, the reckless party habits that everybody else is having, because at the very least, I don't think we should be romanticizing the death of a young rock star. I mean, this is something we should be putting on a pedestal.
And we're doing both because America has an opioid problem. And it's now becoming in the forefront only because it's now crossed all boundaries and all lines of ethnicity, all lines of economic upper mobility, the rich and the poor. It's a problem for everybody. But I will say this, though. I agree that Lil Peep has glamorized the use of drugs. You know, my 15-year-old daughter, I took her to that gravesite, you know, the memorial in front of the rock, because she wanted to see it, because she does follow Lil Peep. She follows that music. Her stepbrother, her half-brother, actually made a video for Lil Peep. So it touched her emotionally. Now, I'm not sure that she was glamorizing the drugs as much as she was talking about how his music somehow touched young people to actually deal with depression, to deal with, you know, problems within their world. The problem, though, is Lil Peep also talked about, besides popping pills, too much suicidal innuendos.
I would honestly
which,
argue,
as a father, scares the living heck out of me.
And I would honestly argue that his music lacks that very substance that his entire fan base and all the bandwagoners have defended him with. I'm an avid hip hop listener. I have tattoos on my body to display my affection for the genre, and I can honestly say that his music is absolutely repulsive, to the point of where his album was 40-something on iTunes. He's dead. He's immortalized from here on out, and all of a sudden it's number 3 because you were told to listen to him. I can't sympathize with the way it's being romanticized.
People were told to, and I don't think people are being told to listen to him. I just think he already had that following, and we reported it because guess what? It was all over social media. Because who are we trying to reach in the media? Young kids.
The young men and women.
Yep.
Very well said.
All right, a couple of stories making headlines. The Wildcats basketball team moved up the rankings to number 2. The Cats are in the Bahamas getting tested in the Battle for Atlantis tournament. 5-star center Bobo, son of basketball legend Manute Bol, chose Oregon over Kentucky, and the Cardinals signed Larry Fitzgerald to 1 more year. 1 more year, back at it again. I'm happy to see that. Don't get hurt, David Johnson, please. Well, that does it for this week's 520. As you know, our goal is to tell it like it is, because it's all about giving voice to opinions, even if you don't agree. I'm Steve Nunez. And I'm Marty Mata IV. Join us next week on the 520.